I don't like talking if I don't hold on to a pencil, if I don't have hold on to a pen. There it is. Welcome to game day. We have made it. The day between games is over. We have landed on the spot that is game 5, and the chat is already bumping. Welcome to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and your daily live stream. There's Marco D'Amico from RG Media, and you can follow him at MN D'Amico, and he is ready to go on this game day live from the U.S. Capitals, where the Canadiens and Capitals match up today in the mother of all game days, to quote my good friend Simon Salikas, and the Montreal Canadiens staring down the barrel of a 1-3 series deficit. Time for a little bit of a vibe check. Marco, how is it going? How are you feeling ahead of 7 o'clock tonight?
This is what it's all about. This is what
Yeah.
if you would have told the Canadiens that they were going to get to play in an elimination setting in the playoffs at the beginning of the season, this is exactly what they would want to see. And you're going to be able to get a lot of information out of a game like tonight if you're a management team. And I think for fans, you're going to be able to see exactly who's the gamer and who is not, right? So I think for me, it's going to be very interesting just from an observational standpoint. But again, just seeing the way Martin St. Louis was at practice yesterday, seeing the way the players, are talking, walking, and from what I'm hearing in Washington, they are locked in. I am fully expecting some pushback here from the Montreal Canadiens.
You know, home ice advantage takes on a different meaning right come playoff time. You saw it Friday in game 3 at the Bell Center on Sunday. I know, based on, the content we've done, there's a strong sentiment of, the Canadiens on Sunday could have done a better job. I know that's one of Marco's main points against Logan Thompson, considering how he left Friday's game 3, not peppering him enough, 18 shots on that Sunday in that loss. We talk about the importance of scoring an early goal here. I mean, I know it's cliche, score first. The goal is to score more than the opposition if you want to win this game. We all understand hockey 101, but is it extra important to get that first goal tonight? Obviously, with the Canadiens down that series deficit, is it more than just a cliche tonight?
In an elimination setting, scoring the first goal, thank you, Tony. Scoring the first goal generally leads to victory in an elimination setting. And so from Taipei, oh my God.
Rod joins us pretty much every day, brother. Every day from the Far East, basically.
Well, I was going to say, isn't it 11 p.m. for them? Like when I lived in Beijing for like 3 months and it was 12 hours, but I'm unaware if Taiwan uses the same schedule. We'll figure it out. But
it's 11:02 p.m. It's 11:02
Yeah, okay,
PM.
So it is the same. It is the same.
Yeah.
Perfect. So thank you for joining us so late, Rod. Catch the game tomorrow morning like I used to. I was in China during the 2014 Stanley Cup final, Stanley Cup Eastern Conference Stanley Cup run, and it was wild being able to watch games at 7 o'clock in the morning.
I'm a very inquisitive, curious guy by nature. You can't say that, and my brain has to stop you. I know. What were you doing in Beijing in your early 20s?
It was a school exchange thing with Concordia University.
Cool.
At the time, I was doing a thesis on the evolution of soccer and basically fandom and marketing. Boo hao. It's not good.
No good. No.
Well, I haven't practiced in a while, but Wu Ming Bai. I understand. Definitely a spy. I was there spying for Canada.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're our Canadian Chuck Barris. I love it.
It was the most wild time. I was in China during the World Cup in 2014. And I was there for research, also picking up Mandarin. My thesis had a lot to do with Chinese soccer and the development of marketing. Ironically enough, I'm a hockey sports journalist now, so like that just didn't transcend. But it was just for research, thesis, and honestly, 3 months of a very good time. So
that's awesome.
That was like 11 years ago.
Yeah, so let's finish our thought. Now we got a little bit more. I like this stuff. I think it's very relatable. I think a lot of people like to know. I've learned this in radio. It's a very intimate, if I can use that word, kind of medium where it's like you're in your car, you're at your kitchen table, perhaps in the morning listening, and you have the voice in your imagination. And I do think, I know I'm this way. I like to know more about the people Even when I was a little boy, I loved the backstory of hockey players, right? Being born a hockey fan, I love knowing more about the people I like to cheer for. And so let's finish our thoughts then about this cliche of scoring the first goal and how important it is. Like, I felt strongly when the Canadiens had that 2-1 lead on the power play goal on Sunday in game 4. I did not think the game was going to end 2-1. I truthfully thought it was going to be a 2-2 game, flip a coin in overtime, let's see what happens.
It
So
smelled like OT.
walk me through the first goal tonight. How big is it?
Massive. Like I said, it's got to be a massive goal. And I feel like, one of the things that we talked about the most is you have a goalie like Logan Thompson returning from what was looking like an apparent injury, testing out his knee during the shooting, during the warm-ups. To me, 8 shots at 5-on-5 is inexcusable. I'm sorry. Through 40 minutes, that's just not going to get you anywhere. They need to pepper Logan Thompson. They need to go and make him move laterally. They need to shoot low so that he gives off rebounds. He already gives off rebounds when they shoot high. Imagine low. So to me, you got to crash the net. You got to go to the dirty areas. Washington's defense is not big. In fact, measure them up. Other than Alexiev, I mean, Montreal Canadiens defense is bigger than theirs. So they should. They have no excuse to be able to crash these guys and overwhelm them. So to me, that's exactly what needs to be done here. There's no excuse behind it. This is playoff hockey. If you're going to make it past a couple of rounds, this is how you have to play. And we talked about this. There's a different way of scoring in the playoffs than there is during the regular season. The regular season, the Canadiens were guilty of this to a degree where they were always looking for that highlight reel goal, the extra pass. You got to be selfish. You got to go to the net. You got to get your nose dirty.
You can have some fun with this game. I see a lot of people dropping in the who's going to score the first goal for the night for the Montreal Canadiens. The good news, the money is coming back the other way. You had Washington when we were here yesterday, basically minus 188, which is an implied around 67, 68% chance of winning this hockey game. That's what that minus 171 number means. And the Canadiens, a little juicier, plus 152. So obviously home road underdogs going into game 5 tonight, live on TSN 690 at 7:00 or around 7:12 once they're done with the two anthems. So let's clear up a couple of areas that need clarification. Sam Montembeault did not travel with the team. Caden Primo will back up Jakub Dobesh. Patrick Laine and Alex Carrier are with the team in Washington. Patrick Laine skated with a regular jersey yesterday, so let's start there. My question to you is, if 92 is ready to go, the medical staff goes to MSL, says, Marty, Laine's good. Good luck tonight. You play Patrick Laine if he's good to go, Marco? Let's start there. I like this.
It's a two-folded answer, in my opinion. It's two ways.
Let's lay it out for me.
So, on the first, and I would not be opposed. Sharko podcast. That's so good.
Sharko.
I would not be opposed. So morning skate hasn't happened yet, folks.
Exactly.
Washington's on the ice as we speak right now. Canadiens are about to start.
Thank you.
My 2 cents, Carey is going to practice one way or the other. I don't think that's an issue. I think it's a question of will he play? And I'm going to tell you right now, you won't know until warmups.
Yeah.
And my 2 cents, my gut feeling, he's going to play. My 2 cents.
So, but
he was taken out of the game. He was taken out of the game on Thursday. Or sorry, wow. What year is it? He was taken out of the game. Wow, we have so many people in Asia. This is awesome.
Did you see? Hold on. Look at this one.
Even Qatar. Yeah, it's still Asia, and that's fantastic.
Doha. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
I love
it for being here, guys. So one of the things that I'm going to say is Alex Carey was taken out of that game for concussion spotting purposes.
Yeah,
right, because there was direct head contact. He had ice on his neck, and then the spotter took him out.
Yeah.
If he wasn't ruled with a concussion, he would, especially if you're traveling like on a plane with a concussion. Good Lord, that hurts.
Exactly.
Been there, done that. Don't do it.
I don't think it would have happened, but
it wouldn't happen. I think he's going to play. Now, when it comes to Patrick Laine, I wouldn't be opposed to having him slot in on a 4th line in the second power play wave. Thank you, Brian. As long as you do not break up that first power play wave, I am all good. My 2 cents, with the way that power play looked in game 4, like the Canadiens would not have even been in that game if it wasn't for that first power play wave. So you cannot touch the first wave. That being said, it made the second power play wave look rather weak, missing some juice there, missing some real shooting opportunities.
Correct.
So I wouldn't be opposed if you can get commitment from Laine to be more aware of the defensive side of the game, because this is my issue, right? The fourth line right now is Armia, Kapanen, Heineman. So you have two rookies and an injured vet, right? That's not a recipe for success. So who are you taking out? And if you take out Yoel Armia,
I wouldn't take.
Yeah, that they're going to target him. They're going to target whoever's on the ice, regardless.
No matter what. Yeah. Yes.
That hasn't. Carey's been targeted all series. The only difference is he got put in a very dangerous position by one of his teammates who was lazy on a play, and then Carey had to come in and fix that and left himself exposed. So it's about being harder on pucks, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. When it comes to Patrick Laine, who do you take out? You can't take out Emil Heineman, guys dishing out hits left and right and going to the net. He's one of the only players that actually goes hard to the net. If you take out Kapanen, well, then you got to bring down Jake Evans again, and you got to play Newhook at center. So I don't think that's a very worthwhile conversation. And Yoel Armia has not hurt this team in any way, shape, or form, and is one of the best possession players. So again, who do you take out? And so that to me is the toughest conversation. And if it wasn't for Kapanen's ability to play center, it's an easy. But then my issue becomes, who's your fourth line center? And I think that in especially on the road, you're not going to get Mickey Mouse on that. You have to have a guy that can win draws. Kapanen can win draws. I just wouldn't see it happening unless the Canadiens decide to start mixing and matching that second and fourth line with different players throughout the game, which Martin St. Louis has shown an ability to. So it's possible that we can see, if I'm the Montreal Canadiens, for example, and the thing is, and so this is when it comes to strategy, this is the thing to keep in mind. The Canadiens don't have last change, right?
Nope.
That leaves them super exposed, just like the Washington Capitals were exposed in Game 3 when they started playing the matchup game. Right. And I think that once you start doing that, once you start getting into that, it's where it gets a little dangerous for Martin St. Louis, because the matchup game killed the Canadiens in Game 2. And so I really find that it could be very difficult for them to be able to keep up with that if they decide to start playing around with the balance of lines. Mm-hmm. So I've liked the way that second line has looked with Jake Evans and Alex Newhook.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that if you bring in Patrick Laine, Oliver Kapanen comes out, it should be Yoel Armia going up to that second line to play with Demidov and Alex Newhook to add a little bit of muscle, to add a little bit of that puck protection, to make some room. Look, he's done nothing wrong. People would be like, Yoel Armia. There's no one better at this point in time.
Dude, think about how good the Canadiens have been shorthanded. He's part of that.
Yeah. He's part of that, but the thing is,
he's not coming out of my lineup.
Look at how he's never coming out of lineup. But the question is he worth putting on the second line? And I think the key to understanding this situation is they just need a guy that's going to make space for them and open the puck. You're going to have Alex Newhook that's going to be able to do the zone entries with speed. He's been excellent, at least at that category, all season long. And then Ivan Demidov is going to go to work, which he has more and more at 5-on-5. I really liked the way, for example, that Yoel Armia worked with a young Nick Suzuki at the time when he came in and played on the fourth line. Those two found instant chemistry, and he helped get him settled. I feel like the same can be done for a guy like Ivan Demidov, because right now I don't feel like he's being put in a situation other than when they double up Jake Evans and Alex Newhook on that second line. I don't think they put him in a position where he's being properly, brought in and given, the runway to perform. If you have a guy like Yoel Armia, who's really good at stripping players of pucks, really good on the forecheck, really good at using his size, at that point, and he's a defty passer. He's a defty passer. So I like that combo if you're going to bring in Patrick Laine. But my gut, it's all the chips on the marbles today. If Patrick Laine is going to play on this team next year, the Canadiens have to see what he has. My two.
100%. Like if again under the scenario I've put out there, if the medical staff says, "Yep, Marty, he's good to go," I play him. And so just so we if you're not willing to play 92 if he's healthy, what the hell are you going to do with this guy with him next season? I look when you
Build a
look at
better
Oliver
team.
Kapanen's game, Oliver Kapanen's playing less than 6 minutes. This is obviously a must win today. I need shooters. I need a chance to. I'm playing basically what I'm telling you is I'm playing the odds. I'm playing the probability of in your head whether you like Laine or not. And I think if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you've heard us for months talk about the obvious, right? Laine struggles at 5-on-5. Laine struggles with speed. He struggles keeping up with line mates. We see all of that. But then we also can't ignore how potent he was on the power play. And I understand, Caulfield on one side, Demidov on the other. I think that is a nice compromise in my mind. Demidov, Hudson, Caulfield, that's my triangle. Suzuki is there, obviously. PP2 comes out. I think there's an opportunity there for Patrick Laine to make it a higher chance of creating offense and getting something going. So as we kind of laid the groundwork here, I'll do it again because the live viewers continue to grow as the minutes pass us by. Patrick Laine, Alex Carrier with the team in Washington for Game 5 at 7 on TSN 690. Sam Montembeault not with the team. The Caden Primo will back up Dobesh. It was funny on the morning show today. We got a text to 11690. Why not start Caden Primo tonight? That was all the text. That's all it said. That's all was written. Anyways, I wanted to mention that. I thought it was funny. But
crazy what short-term memory loss will do.
It's wild to me where you come up with that. But nevertheless, what do they say? Opinions and buttholes, something. Let's get into the fact that the Canadiens, because I saw a couple people ask this question. The Canadiens did not, my friends, call anyone up from Laval. The Rocket opened their series with the Monsters in Cleveland tonight. Are you surprised Montreal didn't call anyone up for the Alex Carrier for the just in case?
Nope. I mean, what's your just in case? If you can't play, you play Struble, and that's it.
Yep. And right? then you have you don't have another defenseman, I guess. But yeah,
who cares? You can't dress another one, right? They're not going to go 11-7. They had the opportunity, they chose not to in games 3 and 4, so it's not going to happen. You have a guy like David Reinbacher. David Reinbacher right now isn't even at practice for the Laval Rocket, undergoing treatments.
Yeah.
Before Canadiens fans get in a tizzy about this, it was planned. So he will be slotting in tonight. He's just not practicing. They're just trying to make sure that the knee is in good condition and that everything is good to go. But other than that, no structural damage, just trying to make sure that there's nothing, wrong. Then at forward, I mean, I don't think already having Kapanen in there, Pizzetta in the stands, I don't think there's anybody that would have been worth a call up at that point. And then goalie, I mean, they already did their call up in Caden Primo. So I'm not necessarily surprised if they felt comfortable, which they seemingly do, with having a guy like Jaden Struble slot in. And to be completely honest with you, from an analytical perspective, the pairing of Jackeye and Struble has been better than any combination of pairing between those two players and David Savard throughout the entire season. So if they decide they're going to put Struble with Matheson, or they're going to flip it around and they're going to put Matheson with Hudson and Struble with Gooley, and Struble plays on the right, I could see that happening. The one thing that I'd be concerned about is if they keep Matheson, like they put Matheson with a rookie or a younger player like a Struble or a Jackeye. I don't think that they would be ready, but I think the thing that would scare me the most is a Matheson-Savard pairing. That just cannot happen. That
I agree. It's
cannot happen.
It should be Matheson
analytically. Yes.
Right? Yes.
And then you bring back Struble Hudson like was done when Gooley was out, Yep. And I think at that point you're in business at that point. But again, I'm not necessarily surprised. I think how Martin St. Louis uses players versus how they play. Yes. It is what it is when he's here. It is what it is when he's on the road. I think, they got to make sure that Mike Matheson is playing. If he's going to be playing on a shutdown role, the only other defenseman in that lineup that can do that right now is Caden Gooley.
Yep.
So
well said.
But I still am of the mind, and I still believe that Alex Carrier is going to be suiting up tonight.
I agree with that. And just to finish it off, Cam Fowler is going to be who did I say?
Jacob Fowler.
Jacob Fowler. What did I say?
plays for the
Cam Fowler.
Blues.
I don't know. Yeah. Jacob Fowler starting for the Laval Rocket. Tariq El-Bashir, who covers the Washington Capitals 14 minutes ago, protests officially a game time decision after being quote unquote full go the last few days per Coach Carberry. Protests came off with the others. Radish stayed out for extra work. Take that how you will. So that transitions us nicely into X factors today. You've been telling us since the regular season about this Protash individual, how big he is, how gargantuan size this guy is. I mean, if he slots in today, walk us through how problematic he could be for the Canadiens team defensively and for Jakub Dobeš.
Yeah, if he were fully healthy, I would, I think that people would be very afraid. But at the end of the day, I really feel like he's going to be a presence. Physically, he's just going to be a presence out there.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest key, right? He's going to be a physical presence, 6'6", 210, or 240. Sorry, the man's a horse. And so just being able, just going up against that is just such a difficult task. And that's why I'm saying, I'm not necessarily worried that the Canadiens will be able to counter him from a speed perspective, because he is still nursing an injury. He's not 100%. But I still think that having a 30-goal scorer inserted into your lineup mid-series is such a boost. Them saying he's a game-time decision, again, I think he plays. Personally, I think he plays. But on the flip side, the way that you had, there's a difference between having body checks and using your body. I think, if you look at Yoel Armia, not necessarily the guy that hits the most, but man, does that man ever use his body. And I think that's the thing, right? Putting back on iron, sure. I think putting the puck in the net should be the goal. My 2 cents.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So the idea is, in this case, when you're looking at a guy like Protas, it's not necessarily going to be that he's going to impose himself physically. He's clearly not 100%. But I think it's the smarts, it's the hockey IQ, it's the reach, it's his body. The puck protection, that's what's going to be valuable if they put him back on that top line and move Beauvillier further down. That's what I think.
Right. Beauvillier's been nice next to Strome, yeah.
Exactly. But the thing is Protas and Strome had such chemistry throughout the season. And again, that's, a lot of people, discount a guy like Ryan Strome and his ability. He is a true top end center in this league. Needed a place to develop properly.
So when we talk about the Protas factor, I look at someone like Josh Anderson, and you dropped this comment earlier, hard on pucks, getting to the net, forcing Logan Thompson to spit out rebounds as he's been doing in this series so far. How do you take advantage of that? Let's talk about the intangibles, the X factors on the Montreal Canadiens. I want to start with Josh Anderson, and then I'm going to get you to talk to us about the number one line. But let's start with Anderson, who's been all over this series. The guy is fearless. Continues to put his body on the line in order to make something happen. There's part of me that looks at Josh Anderson as having a very important role, a tone setter, energy guy. And listen, I understand he's not Tom Wilson, does not score at the rate in which Tom Wilson can put the puck past the goaltender. How do you feel about the role Josh Anderson is going to have to fulfill tonight to give the Canadiens a real shot at winning this game?
Got to play hard, man. You got to fight for those pucks. That's the way I see it. You got to fight for those pucks. You got to stay disciplined as well. You can't get into their games. You can't be out there. We saw a comment before, putting him back on IR. You shouldn't be out there trying to get revenge.
Yeah.
You have to be out there 100% to get the goals, to disturb goalies, to disturb the defense. That should be the goal for everybody. It doesn't matter which player you're going to ask. The game plan is the same. Play hard, play smart, and forecheck like crazy. Give them no time and space. because we've seen Washington just be just as likely to cough up pucks as Montreal has. And when Montreal is playing that strong forecheck game, especially a guy like Josh Anderson, it's just so hard to play against when they're on their game and their energy is there. So to me, that's where it would have to be. You absolutely have to take it to them right off the get-go.
Mm-hmm. So in the battle of top lines, you had mentioned Ryan Strome with Dylan Strome with the Capitals and his 7 points. Anthony Beauvillier's got 5. Alexander Ovechkin has got 4 points. Can the Canadiens get more from Captain Nick Suzuki? His 2 points. Cole Caulfield's got 4. I mean, I know it's cliche, but this is it. It's win and stay in, lose and you're done. Are you putting this on the number one line today to get the Canadiens over the line? Can Nick Suzuki find another level tonight?
I think he has to, right?
Yeah.
I think it's necessary for him to take it up to another level. But
what does that look like then? Because we agree. What does that look like? Got
to play harder, got to use the body. I know he's being targeted. It's the easiest player on the Montreal Canadiens to target outside of Laine Hudson. So I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, you've been basically good to go. Everything is ready for you to compete. The rest of your line mates are producing. Now it's time for you to produce. The problem is when you look at that, one of the good reasons why Suzuki and Slafkovsky have been able to produce at 5-on-5 is mainly because Nick Suzuki has been playing further into the zone than he usually does.
Yeah.
Right? He's very low to the play. Are we mice or men? Oh God.
I'm not playing a game. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm just
not my game. I'm not playing.
I think whenever you insert a 30-goal scorer on the oppositional team, it's noteworthy. My 2 cents. And when you look at a guy like Nick Suzuki, I mean, he does so much already. Penalty kill, 2 ways of the power play. Again, I've said this before and I said it again. Nick Suzuki will be an absolute star. He already is, but he'll be an absolute star when they have an actual second line center to take off some of the load that he has, because it's insane how much he plays. So I think, he's maybe a little gassed, maybe a little juiced. I agree. I don't know that it's Horvat or bust, but definitely along those lines of player.
Yes.
What I will say when it comes to Suzuki, though, that I'd like to see him do more is drive to the net. I want, one of the things that Nick really does is find his teammates, and he's an unselfish player, but in the playoffs, man, it's time to get selfish. It really is. He's been more selfish, for example, on 2-on-1s and trying to get his shot off. But I feel like on the, when he's got the puck in the slot, that puck has to come right off, immediate release. And so, we need to see more of that. We need to see him taking the puck to the net. We need to see him really push the pace. And I think that's the thing for me, right?
And that's what I wonder about. Like, when you talk about Nick Suzuki driving the net, I find him so deliberate in his movements, so deliberate in what he wants to do. And I think he's excellent at doing that, where you can make NHL defensemen kind of wonder about, what's he going to do next? What's he going to do next? And as you think about that, he's already moved the puck and you're a step behind. The one thing that gives me a little bit of pause is I just never think of Nick Suzuki as an explosive player. And I know one of our regular loyal viewers, Rod Langway from Taipei, talking about the heavy minutes. I get it, and the lack of insulation, but there are ways to overcome. And I wonder about the threshold, if it's there. And the other angle to this, when we talk about insulation, we talk about depth, we talk about options for Martin St. Louis. I've seen some people in the chat this morning throw Ivan Demidov's name out there. I saw one suggest, watch Ivan Demidov X Factor. And while I could get on board with that line of messaging, I think we're all on the same page here. I'd love to see Ivan Demidov have a real coming out party in the playoffs today. I'm just not at the point yet where I don't even want to ask Marco about Ivan Demidov X Factor. The guy's 19 years old, still wetting his beak in the NHL playoffs. I see incremental growth. There's no doubt. I see a kid who, Marco, and you wrote about it, and when you broke the story a while ago, you kept telling us about how the line you used, which I still remember, which I enjoyed, was he wants the smoke. And
Yeah.
to me, that line holds more and more truth every time I watch him play. The dangles, the dekes through the legs, the vision, body check, body contact, good forechecks. What's your read? What's your anticipation for Ivan Demidov's game today? Are you of the mindset of just let him play and see what happens, or are you going into the game expecting something from 93?
I'm expecting a flash. I'm expecting him to take his game up another level, as he has every game basically from the start of the series. He went from being what, a 5% chances for player in game one, and just consistently improved. That's what
Yeah.
I want to see. That's exactly what I want to see. I want to see improvement. I want to see line driving, because let's face it, the Canadians don't have a real second line.
No.
The only chance they have of a real second line is Demidov, basically reaching another level. So
Yep.
if they're at that point and they're dealing with those situations, you have to see him take it up a notch. I'd like to see him continue to play on the top power play, continue to get those touches. It's clearly helped his game. That Slavkovsky goal was clear evidence of that in game 4. Slavkovsky needs to be a beast tonight. I think he's basically been a beast.
I agree with that. I love his
game,
series.
his game 1, but game 2, 3, and 4,
Yeah.
I don't think you could say anything about Slavkovsky.
He passes the puck too well to have 0 assists through 4 games. He's got 2 goals, obviously, but he passes the puck so well.
That's because they don't use him on the power play to be a passer anymore.
Right.
Because
he's a tipper, he's a net front guy.
Yeah, he's now a net front guy or a behind the net guy, which I think is perfect for his skill set. But
sure.
what I'd like to see is that top line. I mean, outside of Cole Caulfield, that top line needs to be more physical. I would not break up the veteran line.
I would, same with me. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. They just bring. Yeah. You need an energy line, and they are an energy line. I would not touch them. The only problem with the Montreal Canadiens is they are not built for the playoffs outside of their top line.
So what I'm about to say next is deliberate. I've done this by design because I'm fascinated by this storyline, and I love that it's worked as I hoped that it would. Marco and I have been live on your YouTube screen for 32 minutes right now. We have 315 people watching. I haven't seen a comment, and I have deliberately not asked Marco D'Amico this question. Why haven't we brought up Jakub Dobeš yet? We've talked about power play. We've talked about Slavkovsky there. We talk about Demidov, Anderson. On the other side, we talk about Protas. We talk about Logan Thompson, rebound control, lack thereof. Here we are talking about X factors. How can the Canadians be better? How can they get more shots on goal? Why haven't we spoken about Jakub Dobeš? What does that tell you about this game today, Marco? Because I deliberately did not ask you until right now about this goaltender who will be making his first start in the playoffs tonight.
Second, sorry. Right? He started the last game.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, and it's just he's going to be credited with his third game
yes.
after coming in for relief and playing more than a period. But see, the thing to me is I don't think Jakub Dobeš lost the game for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think there's much to worry about when it comes to the way that Dobeš played yet. In my opinion, I think he has the ability to play well, and I think he showed it. But one of the things I will say that strikes me wrongly, and I apologize, fans that are going to get upset that I'm not looking at the screen, but I am in contact with the Laval Rocket, so I just want to get some information on some of the players who are playing tonight. One of the things I will say is,
I mean, I could keep talking. I don't know why we're talking about the Laval Rocket, but we're talking about the Canadians here.
There's some things going on. Some players are coming into the lineup. Some players are coming out. Want to get that so that we could bring it to the table if we have time in the next half hour. When you look at the way that Dobeš played, I think they just have to play better in front of him, and I think they have to dictate the pace the other way. And I think that's the thing, right? Is if you're going back, if the Canadians they spend so much time in their own zone getting hemmed in, and on the flip side for a goalie, that's one of the things is you can get this good amount of rubber, it will help you get into the game. And I think that's what happened with Dobeš. That's how he got into game 4. On the flip side, The Canadians were doing nothing the other way. So everything we talked about before this point helps to essentially alleviate the responsibility on Dobesh's end. But on Dobesh's end, he needs to be more assertive in front of his crease. If the puck is there, freeze it. Don't get cute with it. Don't wait for your teammates to touch it. Freeze it. It's an elimination game now. Do not take chances. So I think that's the lesson. If you had to take a lesson from game 4, it's that you absolutely need to jump on every loose puck you see. And you need to be aggressive in doing so. As aggressive as he is in his lateral movements, well, that's what he has to do when it comes to this.
Well, that's why, like, when one of the commenters, had their opinion about there's nothing to worry about with Dobesh. Well, I mean, the game kind of ended and he steadied himself, but you have to be willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that when things are tense, as they're going to be tonight, look at the way the Toronto Maple Leafs played last night at home in front of their fans. Okay, this team had been playing north-south hockey, fluid hockey, back and forth every game except in an elimination game, and they were terrible. Austin Matthews was soft, and Dylan Cousins scores a shorthanded goal because Austin wasn't hard enough. And when I look at Jakub Dobesh, there's going to be it's a very, very tight game. It's going to be a very tight game. Mistakes need to be minimized. You don't want to make a lot of them, obviously. And then, there was that first goal, the uncertainty that Marco just finished describing to you. You got it. I got it. Let me kick it out. Boom, it's in the back of the net. Like, I agree with everything you had said about you need to be, and I hate this expression, you need to be the alpha there and just take control, push babies and children out of the way to get that puck. I don't care. I honestly think that's the kind of attitude. I've seen that, though. Like, I'm comfortable with that about him. I do believe that he believes that he's very good, and that matters a lot going into a game. With that cliche, winners want the ball, right? Winners want the ball. I think Dobesh wants the ball. Yeah. And that's a good thing. And that's
not the time to be generous. It's not the time to think about potentially offending a teammate if you jump on a loose puck. None of that. You absolutely need to ensure that the puck doesn't go behind the goal line by any means necessary.
Does Washington need to do anything differently than what they did in Game 4 in their win today? Because that's the thing. They want to win. They don't want to be here Friday night.
Yeah. They found the way. They found the prototype to beat the Montreal Canadiens, my honest opinion.
What is it?
It's up to basically out forechecked them. One of the things the Canadians really like to do is kind of come in on the dump and try to beat them along the boards. What they've done now is their centers play lower, so they're able to quickly chip and do kind of a triangle formation or a give and go to execute the zone exit much faster. They're getting in front of the Canadian shots with more regularity. They're not letting much through, in terms of that. And they're forcing the Canadians to the outside with more regularity than they did in game 3. And I think you factor that in with the violent is not the word, but the physicality, the uptick in physicality.
Yeah.
You put all that together and they just dominated at 5-on-5 in that game. So the Canadians need to respond at 5-on-5. They need to go back to what made them effective, stronger on the forecheck, forcing them to back up, making them have to cough up pucks. And basically that's how it's going to be. And in my opinion, I'm not expecting a high scoring game at all. I think this is going to get locked down real solid. But then again, I was wrong on mostly all of my predictions this week. So we'll see what happens.
Well, that's funny. We talk about the total of this game. Odds makers have it at over under 6. Right now, hitting the over would be the favorite play in this game. Odds makers looking at it through the lens of goals. And I wonder about that. Part of me thinks they get there with the goals at 6, with it being, the favorite because of the chances of garbage time, like multiple empty net goals, the backdoor cover, so to speak. You can see more odds at betonline.ag. Sign up and cash out. It's very easy. And do you think it helps or hurts the Canadians that they're playing this game in Washington and not at the Bell Center today?
You brought up Toronto, and
That's so
you bring
bad.
up home ice, but playing in Toronto You know,
Yeah.
this is a little bit of hyperbole, so hopefully people take this into consideration as I make this joke. But I don't think there was a difference between playing in Toronto during the pandemic and the bubble versus now.
Well said. I don't disagree with it. I
I
mean,
don't
that's
feel
who
like
they are. It's what they do.
I don't
It's
feel
how
like
they.
the
Yeah.
Leafs. I don't feel like the Leafs have a home ice
Yeah.
advantage. As much as it was hilarious to listen to Ovechkin say that the Bell Center atmosphere was similar to what they have at the Capital One Arena,
Yeah.
it's not, but it's still, it's still an intimidating building. They're still quite loud, and you have to give them the props. I don't think any market's ever going to rival the Montreal Canadiens and what happens in the Bell Center.
Yeah.
But
Winnipeg's close, but yeah, no, Montreal's number one.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think,
Yeah.
when you look at that, I still think, having the home ice advantage is more of the benefit in my opinion. But, the Washington Capitals fans have been fantastic the entire season and following Ovechkin and cheering on this team. So, I mean, I wouldn't underscore their impact in that game either. What I will say, however, is it's strategy above all. If the Canadians get intimidated by the Capital One Arena fans, then that's on them. That means they're not focused on the prize. They're not focused on what's happening in front of them, because really the only people that should be intimidating anybody are the Canadians on the ice against the Washington Capitals. And it doesn't have to be physically, but it could definitely be from a pacing standpoint. And you saw again how Martin St. Louis lost his marbles of practice yesterday. I fully expect a fired up team. I honestly thought that game 4 was going overtime.
Yeah,
before the
game.
Me
too. I did, like I mentioned earlier.
I thought it was going to be a Murphy's Law situation. We went to double overtime on a Sunday night.
Yeah, perfect.
And then show up to work the next day as a zombie.
Yay, me! I love that stuff. Please no overtime. And that's the thing too. That I wanted to bring up in regards to. Here it is from Merci Antoine. The physicality here. If we go back to game 3 on Friday, Canadians put 6 on the board, right? We know what happens there. Logan Thompson, Sam Montembeault, Mr. Chef of the Fist, the now infamous E-Bug goaltender, the police officer there. The physicality. Do you look at game 3 as Montreal running roughshod over Washington and that's what they need to do today, knowing that the matchups are going to be a tough battle to win because you're the road team, so you don't get the benefit of the last change. The matchups don't favor you, that Montreal can maybe win this game because they can go into Washington and play physical? Was that how they won Friday, Marco?
I mean, they definitely out-hit the Capitals, but I think they outpaced and outchanced the Capitals. And that's like when it's incredible how a team is less likely to hit you if they're chasing you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right? Like
I do.
It sounds simple and reductive to the idea, but that's exactly what it is. Generally speaking, in the regular season, the team that has the least amount of possession generally has the most amount of hits.
Exactly.
Generally. In the playoffs, usually it's the other way around because you're always chasing the play, unless you're gooning it up, in which case, have fun with that. But when it comes to winning hockey games, the reality is that if you dictate the pace, if you're pushing the play, and if you're standing up for yourself physically, you've already covered most of your bases. Now it's a question of getting a little bit of puck luck and using your players properly.
Totally. I retweeted this video. Marco brought it up. Marty St. Louis at practice yesterday, and I love this video. And I wonder if you see what I see here. And let me get this for you.
Yeah, there's a couple of F-bombs in there.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I have a great quote here from Tom Wilson.
So
not Tom Wilson, Logan Thompson.
So there's Martin St. Louis at practice yesterday, and I retweeted it from the Bar Down account. That is right then and there why Martin St. Louis is the perfect coach at the perfect time for this very young team. Like, he is not a fan of I don't want to say it was half-ass, but Marty, who's an MVP, who's a Hall of Famer, who's a Stanley Cup champ, who's an undrafted Vermont Catamount player who did all of those things, he knows the jam, and he knows the bullshit from the authentic. And in his eyes, in his trusted eyes, that is not playoff winning hockey practice habits. And I love that he called him out. Hey, this is where the game is played. Wake up, get engaged, and let's go. I love the accountability. I love the tell it like it is attitude from that coach. What can you tell us about Logan Thompson now?
They just asked him, what they're expecting from the Canadiens tonight. And he said,
Yeah.
and I quote, "I grew up watching Martin St. Louis. He's not going to let these guys go without a fight. They have a lot of undersized guys, and they work their bags off."
That's a perfect scouting report.
Yeah. Well, so based on what you saw, what we just showed before, like just goes to show you the rest of the league is expecting some major pushback from the Montreal Canadiens. Again, we've seen the Canadiens come back from deficits before throughout the season. I'm not saying they're going to necessarily win the series, but you're definitely going to see a very aggressive team come up and give their all. They may not win the game, but I expect way more fight than we saw in Game 4.
And that's going to be who's going to bring who. Is it going to be a case of someone needs to drag this team into the fight, or are they all going to voluntarily get into it in that now viral 100 was it 100 men against one gorilla? Who is going to drag the Montreal Canadiens into the fight, or are they all going to be ready to go, chomping at the bit to get into that? And that takes me back to a point that I brought up and asked you about yesterday. So let's get repetitive here for a second. This is the youngest team in the history of hockey to qualify for the playoffs. And if they do it again next year, they probably might break their own record, right? On roster movement. Certainly David Savard announcing his retirement before the playoffs. And you would imagine David Reinbacher will be the guy there, right? So with that in mind, we understand playoffs and success in the playoffs, by and large, is relied upon heavily based on experience. Having been there, those reps, the muscle memory, the nerves are calm because you've been on this ride multiple times. This is a lot to put on the youngest team to ever make the playoffs today. What you've seen, you've covered this team all year. They have defied the odds at every turn. In December, they were the 31st ranked team in hockey, and here we are talking about them going into Game 5 of the playoffs. So they are very comfortable defying the odds. They've done it multiple times. Are you comfortable looking at them through the lens tonight that this young team is going to stay where their feet are? They're going to be very present. They're going to mind their P's and Q's, and they're going to get this thing done tonight.
I would expect them to win tonight's game. I think it'll go back to Montreal on Friday, and I feel like they're going to lay it all on the line. It may cost them, like they may not be able to continue in the rest of the series because they laid it out on the line. I was
gonna say, what does that mean?
It cost you everything, but
everything.
I feel like
so worth it. So worth it.
Tonight is an organizational vibe check, in my honest opinion.
Right.
And they're going to want to see, like, is there any fight in this group? Is there any pushback in this group? Are we going to see something real in this group? And I think that's the biggest thing. And when Marty already just berating them yesterday, I expect a very mad, all business team coming out of the gates early and trying to get the crowd right out of it. That's what I'm expecting. What happens after that, as we already discussed the keys to victory here. That'll be that. That'll be what we have to see at that point. But again, I'm not 100% sold on this being the last game of the season.
I'm with Marco. I think we're going to be talking about a Friday Game 6, and we'll be here live to do it. I like the Canadiens' chances. As we've seen before, yes, full credit to the Carolina Hurricanes. They were down 3-0 in the first period of that hockey game, and then marched all the way back on a Sebastian Aho double OT game winner to be the first team to punch their ticket to the second round. What happened yesterday? Toronto couldn't get it done. The Maple Leafs fall to 1-13 in closeout games. Also, were you aware of this as it relates to how difficult it is to close a team out? The Toronto Maple Leafs are 0-30 on the power play in closeout games. They can't score a power play goal in an elimination game. Austin Matthews is on 1 goal. You saw how tight they played that game yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised, and I know Washington has won a Stanley Cup with Alexander Ovechkin. I know they've closed. They've got guys there that have closed that have won the Stanley Cup. I get it. but it's not easy. And Montreal is not going to be the Miami Heat. If you've been watching the NBA playoffs, that was embarrassing what the Miami Heat did. Just completely gave up in a professional game. They gave up. That is not going to be the Montreal Canadiens, never with a Martin St. Louis team. So you know Washington is going to have their hands full. Is it going to be enough? I think it will be. I think the Montreal Canadiens are going to win a close game tonight, a tight-checking, low-scoring hockey game. And we'll be here to talk about what would be Game 6 on Friday at the Bell Center. Before we let you go, I'm just going to set the table again before we say our parting words here. The Canadiens have not called anyone up from Laval. Caden Primo is backing up Jakub Dobeš. Carrier and Laine did make the trip. Sam Montembeault did not. Jacob Fowler starts for the Laval Rocket. Calder Cup run tonight, Game 1 against the Cleveland Monsters. Yep. Is there anything else on the Laval Rocket front? I know you were busy there. Lots of things happening as we do a live show.
Yeah, well, David Reinbacher was not at practice today. He was out for maintenance day, and now everybody's losing their marbles. I would expect him to play. I don't think it's necessarily. I don't think he necessarily tweaked anything, but we'll be finding out. From what I'm being told, we should know in the next couple of minutes exactly what's going on. But you know. From what I saw last week, unless something wild happened yesterday at practice, I think he should be a go. And this is just a question of, making sure that he is 100% ready to go and that there's no problem with the knee before before he ends up playing.
Right.
So nothing to report there. That Laval Rocket lineup is stacked. Raphael Harvey Pinard is back in the lineup.
I saw yesterday.
We saw Brandon Gignac is back in the lineup. So much so that I believe both Riley Kidney and Philip Meshar are scratched for Game 1 at this point. So
yes,
it really goes to show you, Meshar could have probably played on a third line, but they're looking for a more physical third line. For Canadiens fans worried that the Canadiens aren't physical enough right now, if that's the way they're building their bottom six in Laval, expect that transition in the NHL real soon.
Exactly. Well said. And just so you know, the Laval Rocket open up on the road because the first round is the best of 3. So the best of 3 or best of 5, but that's why they open up the Laval with the best.
First to win 3, but it's a 5 game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just so for those that were asking, like, why would they start on the road and then play 3 at home? Like, what happens if they get swept or if they sweep and, ticket losses? Laval was the one that chose this outcome. Correct. Laval could have had the first 2 games and given the last 3 games to Cleveland. They preferred to take the advantage because, again, as we've seen it before and as we've said it again, there is a significant advantage to closing out a series when you're at home with the last change.
Yep, no doubt, right? Nice to see Florian Jacki centering that fourth line of Laval, Beck on the second line there, Patrick Waugh, Joshua Waugh, looking to see, great. He's a great American Hockey League player, Joshua Waugh. Love to see him have a bust out kind of a deep playoff run for this team, and of course Jacob Fowler. And I saw you put it out on Twitter the other day. Is like Carey Price, Hamilton Bulldogs, Calder Cup run. Anybody? So lots of playoff hockey, lots of Montreal Canadiens. Anticipation on both sides. The Laval Rocket games are on RDS, and they are not on the radio. By the way, the Laval Rocket, I will tell you, the Laval Rocket are not on TSN 690 for the playoffs. It was not a TSN or a Bell decision. It was a Laval Rocket decision. So you're not going to find them.
They'll be on BPM Sport in French, however.
That was unnecessary, but I understand. So yeah, just wanted to clear the air on that. Okay, so enjoy the games, everybody. We'll be watching attentively, and we'll be back here tomorrow. Win or lose. There's no draw because it's the playoffs. And so we'll be back here at 11 tomorrow. Go Habs, go. Marco, have a good day, and enjoy the game today. Looking forward to tomorrow's conversation.
Yeah, let's hope that tomorrow's conversation is a positive one.
Yes, sir.